Now, here to score the tax revolution is Leslie Eastman. She is a founding member of the Southern California Tax Revolt Coalition. She is in San Diego, and joining us is Leslie Marshall. She is the radio host of the Leslie Marshall Show, and she joins us from L.A. So we got two Leslies here. I'll try to keep you all straight. Leslie Marshall, the people have spoken. They spoke in the elections in November, and they spoke in the referendum. You can't go against the will of the people, right?
Well, you can go against the will of the people if the people don't totally and fully understand. Although I'm one of those people. You know, I live in this state.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Leslie. I got to ask. Hold on just one second, because unless I got my numbers totally wrong, wasn't millions and millions of dollars spent by folks on your side in order to get the message across?
Yeah, there was a lot of money spent. And even though I'm a liberal and even though I'm a Democrat, I don't always agree with what my party does. I certainly don't agree with what the governor of this state does. I believe the last governor was recalled for exactly what's going on in the state of California right now. But when we look at reality, the reality is that whether you're in the state of California, this state, or any state, and you know the state budgets came out for all the states recently, and everybody's hurting. On a federal level, again, everybody's hurting. There has to be, I believe, mutual responsibility between the constituents and the government. You can't just expect the government to fix everything that we in the state and on a federal level have contributed to. And we've contributed to, quite frankly, with our spending habits, and the government, if you will, is imitating their constituency and their spending habits, and both are wrong, and I think both have to be curbed. We have to pay for some things we want. They have to stop spending so much in bad areas, but we don't want to sacrifice health care. We don't want to sacrifice education. We don't want to sacrifice our infrastructure on a state level or a federal level just to have Americans feel better about not paying taxes.
I was with you, Leslie, up until the very last part. But, Leslie, when I started to disagree with you, when you threw out things like education and health care and firemen, I mean, nobody's against education. Nobody's against firemen or policemen. What we're against are the bureaucracies.
But nobody wants to pay for it.
What we're against are the bureaucracies. Hold on, ladies, one at a time, please. The bureaucracies that very often are affiliated with these I used to be a teacher in Chicago, and if the money was just going to teachers, I'd say fine, but it's going to this whole education lobby that includes a lot of people that aren't involved in teaching our kids.
Well, first of all, something Leslie said, you can't compare two presidential administrations where Clinton had a surplus in the trillions and Bush then turned that into a deficit in the billions.
So let's keep it on California,
that's apples and oranges.
Ladies, let's keep it on California. Go ahead, Leslie Marshall.
Leslie Marshall is responding to Leslie Edison.
Leslie Marshall, go ahead.
What I was saying is, and I used to live in Chicago, great teachers, and in my opinion, massively underpaid, as most teachers are in America. It's certainly a labor of love. And I agree with you. This is the problem. This is the problem on a state level, and this is a problem on the federal level, that the money, the funding is not going specifically toward the areas such as education, healthcare reform, infrastructure, et cetera, that it specifically needs. If you want to call it pork barrel spending, which a lot of Americans look at it as, and waste, yes. But at the same time, if we want to go over a bridge that isn't going to collapse, we have to be willing to invest in our country, invest in our children, our grandchildren's
Leslie
future,
Eastman, the key is what kind of spending we're talking about here, because within bureaucracies, all you have to do is come to Washington and see how many bureaucracies there are that come as a result of some very nice sounding projects. So how do you decouple, if you will, the bureaucracies from the legitimate spending in infrastructure, in teaching, with police, et cetera?
I think part of it is citizens have got to be paying more attention to what their legislatures are actually doing. Who's contributing them? What are they actually accomplishing when they go to their state capitals or the national capital? For example, Anthony Adams is being recalled. He voted for our tax increases. Now he just wrote an op-ed that decries tax increases. So holding politicians accountable, paying attention to what they do, that is the citizens' responsibility, and I think we have to be more on top of that.
Well, Leslie Marshall, that doesn't sound bad, does it?
Well, I have to say, I do agree with personal responsibility, especially, you know, when you're voting. It's up to each and every one of us to educate ourselves on the issues. What a novel concept. And as
to educate the people in power to do what we want them to do as well.
I agree, but we have the power to do that at we have the power to do that every election with our vote. And we have to think about this, folks. If you think that a borrower is a servant to their lender, do we want to be a servant on a federal level to China? Or do we want the government, in a sense, together with their constituents to be, they're the civil servants, and they are supposed to be serving we, the American people.
Yeah,
that
but at the same time, Leslie Eastman, you do have in California, a couple of other states, these referendum, the chance to put to the vote specific issues of exactly how money is spent. And for my money, I think that's a pretty good system. Are you going to continue to use that as your primary mechanism for getting these guys to do what you think should be done?
Definitely. I think one of the nice things about the Tea Party movement that we've established is now we are having people with different talents and different resources coming together and trying to do programs that will help curb unnecessary spending, tailor a good tax program that's sensible, but it meets the needs of the taxpayers and the services required to run a functioning state. Like I said, one of the targets is going to be the employees union and perhaps sensible pension reform. Right. So again, this is a good time we're bringing together resources. We've now got people paying attention, dialoguing with each other, and we're coming up with long-term game plans to hopefully save our state from undergoing bankruptcy and being a laughingstock of the nation.
Well, people are certainly paying attention now, particularly the people in Sacramento. You better believe they're paying attention. And it's interesting that Leslie Marshall and Leslie Eastman don't seem to be that far apart on some of the basic issues. Thank you, lady. Good to see you both.